The grand ballroom at the Fairmont Hotel sparkled with crystal chandeliers and white rose centerpieces as my sister Jessica's wedding reception reached its crescendo. 400 guests in designer evening wear celebrated her marriage to Richard Pemberton, a successful investment banker whose family owned 3 country clubs and a private jet. I sat at table 17, strategically placed in the back corner near the kitchen doors where less important family members had been relegated. At 31, I was the family's perpetual disappointment, the sister who'd wasted her MBA to work for what everyone assumed was some struggling startup, while Jessica, 33, had climbed the corporate ladder to become senior vice president of marketing at Pemberton Industries, Richard's family company. The irony that she'd essentially married her boss wasn't lost on me, though nobody seemed to find that arrangement problematic. "Ladies and gentlemen," the wedding coordinator announced, "the bride would like to say a few words." Jessica glided to the microphone in her custom Vera Wang gown, every inch the successful executive bride. Her diamond earrings caught the light as she surveyed the crowd with the confidence of someone accustomed to commanding boardrooms. "Thank you all for celebrating this perfect day with Richard and me," she began, her voice carrying easily through the sound system. "When I look out at all of you, I'm reminded of how blessed we are to be surrounded by such successful, accomplished people." The crowd murmured appreciation, wine glasses raised in anticipation of the toast. "Richard and I have both worked so hard to build the careers that brought us together," Jessica continued. "We understand the value of dedication, ambition, and choosing paths that lead to real achievement." I shifted uncomfortably in my chair, sensing where this was headed. Jessica's eyes found me in the back corner, and her smile took on a slightly sharper edge. "At least one of us made something of ourselves," she declared, her voice carrying across the silent ballroom. "It's so important to have examples in the family of what focused ambition can accomplish." A few guests glanced around, unsure where this was leading. "Some of us chose real careers," Jessica announced, her gaze still fixed on my table, "while others, well, let's just say not everyone understands what it takes to succeed in the corporate world." Richard's parents, seated at the head table, nodded approvingly. His mother leaned toward her tablemates, stage whispering, "Jessica was so smart to focus on building a proper career instead of getting distracted by those little tech startups." The in-laws laughed and pointed at my corner table, clearly understanding Jessica's pointed reference. I could feel 400 pairs of eyes turning toward me, the family failure who worked for some obscure technology company nobody had heard of. "I'm grateful," Jessica continued, "to be marrying into a family that values excellence, achievement, and the kind of success that makes a real difference in the world." She raised her champagne flute with theatrical flair. "To Richard, to the Pemberton family, and to everyone here who chose the path of real success." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. Glasses clinked throughout the ballroom as guests celebrated what was clearly meant as much as a statement about family hierarchies as a wedding toast. I remained seated during the standing ovation, quietly checking my phone. 3 missed calls from my chief of staff. Perfect timing. "And now," Jessica announced, flushed with the success of her speech, "I'd like to invite Richard's father to say a few words about welcoming me into the Pemberton Industries family." But before Richard's father could stand, a distinguished man in his 70s approached the microphone. I recognized him immediately. William Pemberton Sr., the company's founder and chairman of the board, Richard's grandfather. Jessica stepped aside with slight confusion. "This wasn't part of the planned program." "Thank you, Jessica," Chairman Pemberton said, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd built a billion-dollar empire. "That was quite an interesting perspective on success and achievement." The ballroom fell silent, guests sensing something unexpected was about to unfold. Chairman Pemberton adjusted the microphone with practiced ease, his silver hair catching the chandelier light. At 76, he commanded respect simply by standing still. "I've spent 50 years building Pemberton Industries," he began, his voice measured and thoughtful. "In that time I've learned to recognize true leadership, innovative thinking, and the kind of vision that actually changes industries." Jessica beamed beside him, clearly expecting praise for her marketing achievements within his company. "Tonight's speech about real careers and actual success was particularly fascinating," he continued, "because it reminds me of a board meeting we held just last month." Richard looked puzzled. His father shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "You see," Pemberton Industries has been struggling with digital transformation for 3 years, Chairman Pemberton explained to the captivated audience. Despite spending millions on consultants, we couldn't crack the code on modernizing our operations. He paused, scanning the ballroom with keen eyes. Until our board of directors made what turned out to be the most profitable decision in company history. The silence was complete now, guests hanging on every word. We decided to acquire a small technology company that had developed revolutionary automation software, he continued. A company that most people probably consider just another little startup. I felt my stomach flutter as Chairman Pemberton's eyes found mine across the crowded ballroom. 6 months ago we purchased Morrison Tech Solutions for $340 million, he announced matter-of-factly. The acquisition has already improved our efficiency by 47% and is projected to save us over $200 million annually. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Jessica's confident smile wavered slightly. Morrison Tech Solutions was founded and built by a brilliant entrepreneur who started with nothing but an MBA and an idea that traditional corporations were too short-sighted to understand, Chairman Pemberton continued. He gestured toward my corner table. That entrepreneur is sitting right here tonight, and I believe she was just told that she doesn't understand what it takes to succeed in the corporate world. Every head in the ballroom turned toward me. The whispers started immediately, spreading like wildfire through the elegant crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, Chairman Pemberton said with obvious relish, please join me in recognizing Alexandra Morrison, founder and CEO of Morrison Tech Solutions, and as of last month, the newest member of Pemberton Industries' board of directors. The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica's face had gone completely pale. Richard looked like he'd been hit by a truck. Alexandra, Chairman Pemberton called out, would you mind joining me up here? I think there are some people who'd like to meet you properly. I stood slowly, aware that 400 pairs of eyes were tracking my movement from the corner table to the microphone. The same people who'd been laughing at me moments earlier now watched with fascination and growing respect. Thank you, Chairman Pemberton, I said as I reached the front of the ballroom. Though I should mention it's Dr. Morrison. I completed my doctorate in computer science last year while running the company. Another wave of whispers. Jessica gripped the microphone stand for support. Dr. Morrison, Chairman Pemberton corrected with a smile, perhaps you could tell our guests a bit about your little startup. I looked out at the crowd, then at Jessica, whose wedding toast had just backfired spectacularly. Morrison Tech Solutions employs 847 people across 12 countries, I began calmly. We hold 37 patents for automation technology, and our software currently runs operations for Fortune 500 companies worldwide. Richard's mother, who had been laughing about my lack of real success moments earlier, now looked physically ill. The company went public 3 years ago, I continued. Our market capitalization recently crossed $2.8 billion. The gasps were audible now. Phones appeared as guests began frantically Googling my company. But Chairman Pemberton is right about one thing, I said, glancing at Jessica. I probably don't understand what it takes to succeed in traditional corporate environments. I've been too busy building my own. Chairman Pemberton stepped back to the microphone with obvious satisfaction. There's actually more to this story that our wedding guests might find interesting. Jessica remained frozen beside us, her Vera Wang gown suddenly seeming less impressive than the business empire I'd built while she was climbing someone else's corporate ladder. As part of the acquisition process, Chairman Pemberton explained, we conducted a comprehensive review of all Pemberton Industries positions to eliminate redundancies and streamline operations. Richard's father straightened in his chair, clearly sensing where this was headed. Dr. Morrison's automation systems have revolutionized our marketing department's efficiency, the chairman continued. We discovered that most of our traditional marketing roles could be handled by her AI-driven platforms. Jessica's grip on the microphone stand tightened visibly. Effective Monday morning, Chairman Pemberton announced, we'll be implementing significant restructuring in our marketing division. Several positions will be eliminated as we transition to Dr. Morrison's automated systems. The ballroom had gone completely silent. You could hear champagne bubbles fizzing in abandoned glasses. Jessica, he said, turning to my sister with polite business courtesy, your position as Senior Vice President of Marketing will be among those eliminated. Your last day will be Friday. The words hit the ballroom like a physical blow. Jessica staggered slightly, her face cycling through shock, horror, and humiliation. But, she stammered, I'm family now. I'm married to Richard. Yes, Chairman Pemberton replied matter-of-factly, which is exactly why this decision needed to be announced publicly. No one can accuse us of nepotism when we're clearly making objective business decisions based on technological advancement. Richard jumped to his feet. Grandfather, surely we can discuss this privately. Richard, the old man cut him off sharply, your wife just spent 10 minutes explaining the importance of real achievement and corporate success. She should appreciate the irony that real corporate success means adapting to innovation, not clinging to outdated positions. I watched Jessica's entire identity crumble in real time. Her successful career, her corporate achievement, her claim to family superiority, all evaporating because the unsuccessful sister had built technology that made her job obsolete. Furthermore, Chairman Pemberton continued relentlessly, the board has voted to promote Dr. Morrison to Chief Technology Officer, making her the youngest C-suite executive in company history. The wedding guests sat in stunned silence, many frantically texting and updating social media about the spectacular reversal they were witnessing. Dr. Morrison will be responsible for overseeing our digital transformation across all divisions, he added. Her starting salary will be $2.4 million annually, plus equity participation. Jessica made a small choking sound. Her marketing salary had been $180,000. So when we talk about real careers and actual success, Chairman Pemberton concluded, I think it's important to understand what those terms actually mean in today's economy. He turned to address the entire ballroom. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just witnessed a perfect example of why innovation trumps tradition, why building something new is more valuable than managing something old, and why assumptions about success can be spectacularly wrong. The reception continued in surreal fashion after Chairman Pemberton's announcements. Wedding guests who had been dismissing me an hour earlier now lined up to introduce themselves and exchange business cards. The corner table where I'd been hidden became the most popular location in the ballroom. Jessica retreated to the bridal suite, claiming she needed to fix her makeup. She didn't return for the rest of the evening. Richard found me during the band's final set, looking haggard despite his expensive tuxedo. Alexandra, I owe you an enormous apology, he said quietly. Jessica's speech was completely inappropriate. Was it? I asked mildly. She was right about one thing. I don't understand traditional corporate success. I bypassed it entirely. He winced. About her job. Is there anything that can be done? You mean can I save the position that my technology has made obsolete? I clarified. No, Richard. That's not how innovation works. But she's family now. Exactly, I replied. Which means she's about to learn what I learned years ago, that real security comes from building your own success, not depending on others to provide it. Chairman Pemberton appeared beside us, a satisfied smile on his weathered face. Dr. Morrison, outstanding evening. Though I suspect your sister's honeymoon conversation might be somewhat awkward. Probably, I agreed. But maybe it's time she understood that belittling others doesn't make you more successful. It just makes you smaller. 3 months later, Jessica and Richard's marriage was already showing strain. She'd struggled to find a position that matched her previous salary, while I'd successfully integrated my technology throughout Pemberton Industries, exceeding all efficiency projections. The wedding video went viral on professional networking sites, not for the beautiful ceremony, but for the spectacular reversal during the reception speeches. Business schools now use it as a case study in corporate transformation and the dangers of underestimating innovation. Jessica eventually found work at a smaller firm at a significantly reduced salary. She never again made public comments about family members' career choices. Chairman Pemberton kept the framed newspaper article about our acquisition on his office wall, with a handwritten note. Never assume the quiet one in the corner isn't changing the world. The corner table at table 17 became a symbol in our family. A reminder that where you're seated doesn't determine your worth, and that the loudest voice in the room isn't always the most successful one.